But as he does that, he gets stunned from behind.
He gets full on Rose Tico'd.
Shocking, isn't it?
Do it! Make the sacrifice!
Hello there. I'm Darren.
And I'm Dougie.
And we're looking at the real sequels, the series of events that happened after episode 6 in the books, novels, and sometimes comics. Today we're looking at chapter 18 and 19.
Solid memory from 5 minutes ago.
Thank you. Speaking of solid memory, what's that in your helmet? You got a wee bit of...
Well, you remember last week's episode, I spilled a little bit of the blue milk, and I tried to clean it, and it won't come off.
Stupid Tupperware armor. Anyway, how does episode 18 start?
Yeah, so chapter 18 starts with Luke being picked up by the Wild Karrde, and as he's being led to the captain of the Wild Karrde, Luke stretches out with the Force to try and get a sense of the people on this ship. He's a little wary because he can't think of any legitimate reason why a vessel would be out in this region of space. Luke basically thinks there may be pirates or there may be smugglers of some kind. So he's like stretching out with the Force to try and feel like what are their intentions here, you know, what's going on. And he can sense that there's 4 people in the front part of the ship. He doesn't get any particular negative feelings or intentions from them, but he does notice that the rear of the ship, where the cargo hold would be, it's like weirdly dark to his Force senses. Like he can't really sense anything in there, and it's a bit kind of strange. And so he kind of just chalks it up to, you know, an after effect from the hibernation. So he goes in to the captain's quarters and he's introduced to Talon Karrde, and him and Talon Karrde start talking. And as they're talking, Luke's suspicions start to get more intense, because the way that Karrde is talking to them, it's almost as if Karrde was expecting to find Luke here.
Mm-hmm.
So he subtly kind of shifts into a combat stance. Now it's just him and Karrde in the room, so Luke is keeping his attention on Karrde the whole time. And as Karrde ends the conversation by saying, "I'm very sorry it has to be this way," Luke tries to grab his lightsaber off his belt, but as he does that, he gets stunned from behind.
He gets full on Rose Tico'd.
Shocking, isn't it?
QC.
Luke goes down and shouts, "Ray!" It's funny, in the comic, that scene, he actually addresses Luke as Commander Skywalker, and knows all this stuff about him, and Luke says he's resigned his Alliance Commission and all that there stuff. So it's kind of like, it's the most suspicious thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So Luke doesn't introduce himself to Karrde. Karrde knows who he is. And so, yeah, as you said, all these things that Karrde seems to know about Luke is what is making him so suspicious as the conversation goes on. And as he descends into darkness, his final thought is, how did Karrde even manage to surprise a Jedi?
Surprise,
Which is funny because his final thought in the comic is slightly different. I believe it just says,
What? Yeah, that makes no sense.
Yeah, no, I suppose that's the subtleties you kind of miss with the comics.
Yeah.
The book just kind of gives it that wider context.
So chapter 19 starts with Luke waking up, and he's lying in a bed, and he slowly comes around, and he can tell from like the dryness in his mouth and the way his skin feels that he's been unconscious for several days at this point. And he slowly sort of starts to come around, and as he sits up, a voice speaks from behind him, and that startles him because he couldn't sense anyone else in this room with him. But as he turns around, Mara Jade is sitting there, and she has a blaster sitting on her lap. And Luke is just completely shocked. He describes it like he's went blind because he can't sense this person that he's looking at directly in front of him. And as he sort of reaches out, he notices that he can't sense any other living thing around him. And Mara tells him that Karrde wants to speak to him, and Luke slowly makes his way to his feet. And as he does so, Mara Jade points the blaster in his face and says, "If you try to escape, I will kill you." and she leaves the blaster sitting there for a few seconds to really drive home the point. But the only thing that Luke is thinking about is the deep pain that he can see behind the hatred in her eyes, and he's never seen such hatred since he faced the Emperor. This is the level of hatred Mara Jade has for Luke Skywalker.
And it's kind of consistent even with current canon. Because we see it quite a lot in Legends whenever a dark side user is about to die. So we see it in KOTOR, the end of KOTOR, whenever Malik realizes what he's done before his death and almost has that severe remorse. We see it in Rebels, I think, is probably the best example with Maul versus Obi-Wan. You have that really emotional scene. It's almost like using the dark side, you have to carry this big thing along with you, and it's a real burden. And then obviously at the end of life, it's kind of like, being without that burden for a second just gives you that clarity. That was kind of cool. I'm looking forward to seeing what unfolds there.
So yeah, they leave the building that Luke was in, and they cross a clearing in the middle of a forest, and they enter the central building in this group. And the main room has a giant tree growing up through the middle of it. The trunk of it is a couple of meters in diameter, so it's quite a large tree. And at the base of this tree, Talon Karrde is sitting there, and he has his 2 Vornskers beside him. And Talon Karrde gestures for Luke and Mara to come over and for Luke to sit down. But as Luke approaches, his 2 Vornskers stand up at attention, and they don't take their eyes off Luke. And as Luke gets closer, they start to move forward and growl at Luke, and they completely ignore Talon Karrde whenever Talon tells them, to stay back. And Talon ends up having to grab their collars and be like, Chin, can you take them out? So Chin comes over and takes them out of the room, and Talon Karrde apologizes because he says they're normally better behaved than that around guests. And so Luke now sits down, and Mara Jade goes and stands beside Talon Karrde. So Karrde begins talking with Luke, and he says that he wants to make a deal with Luke, because it turns out that Karrde wasn't actually looking for Luke. They got the call from the Imperials, and they made their offer of 30,000 for the capture and return of Luke Skywalker. But when the offer came in to them, Talon Karrde said no. And the reason is that Karrde's operation, it's quite a large operation. We've mentioned before how Talon Karrde is basically the new Jabba the Hutt. And so Talon Karrde's operation extends deep into Imperial territory, but it also extends into the New Republic territory. And so if Talon Karrde was to capture Luke Skywalker and give him to the Imperials, it could cause quite a lot of repercussions. And Talon Karrde was basically hoping to avoid any repercussions on either side by just staying out of the whole thing. And he's now in a pickle, because if he gives Luke to the Imperials, the New Republic won't be very happy. But if he lets Luke go, the Empire won't be happy when they find out. And so he's now in the situation that he was hoping to avoid completely. So Talon Karrde asks Luke, why are the Imperials searching for you? Because if he can give the Imperials something related to why they want Luke Skywalker, then maybe he can let Luke go, but still give the Imperials something, and that way both sides are happy enough. So Luke explains that the Imperials have attacked them a couple of times, and it's not just him, it's his sister Leia they've also attacked. And he says it feels more like a kidnapping than an assassination. So Karrde asks where these attacks happened, and Luke says that one was on Bimisari and one was on Bipfash. And so Talon Karrde says that he has a contact on Bipfash, so he will get that contact to sort of look into things and see what they can dig up. But in the meantime, Luke will have to stay as Talon Karrde's guest until they can decide what they're going to do. So as Luke gets up to leave, Talon Karrde explains that out in the forests there are wild Vornskers that don't have the domestication of his 2 that he just had to have removed. So he's basically telling Luke, don't try and escape, you're not gonna survive. And then Luke offers Talon Karrde a different kind of deal. If Talon Karrde decides that he just doesn't want anything more to do with this, he can take Luke and R2 back to where they found him and drop him off in his broken X-Wing and just leave him there, because Luke is happy to take his chances with the other searchers. Talon Karrde smiles at this, and he says he'll keep it in mind, and that's how the chapter ends.
Yeah, just again, taking Luke, we know him kind of at this point as an all-powerful Jedi that can just backflip up a set of stairs and dispatch 8 Nogri without really much of a sweat. Now he's truly weaponless, and he has Mara Jade, one of Talon Karrde's top lieutenants, watching over him, who frickin' hates him. And it gives it this kind of insight into Talon Karrde as well, that he is a bit of a chess player himself. He's got pieces on the board and his own interests. So yeah, again, curious to see how this unfolds. But that's about all we've got for this week. Join us again next time when we do more stuff. Oh yeah, don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and get us on the social medias. Bye.
Bye.